pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Matt, will you please have roll call?
Counselor Demas,
Here.
Beedry,
Here.
Bingham,
Here.
Malonis, here. Thompson,
Here.
Hickerson,
Here.
Hanson,
Here.
Zadi,
Here.
Mayor Mickelson.
Here. Council, that takes us to the consent agenda. First up, we have the City Council meeting minutes of March 4th, 2025. An appointment of Ben Nathan for his first term on the Rock Springs Box Art Committee. Our health insurance fund recap for February 2025. Our financial report summary for January 2025. Our Rock Springs Historical Museum meeting minutes of January 8th, 2025. And our Main Street Board meeting minutes of February 10th, 2025, and a thank you note from the Boost Leadership Academy for Mayor Mickelson and Councilor Bingham's presentation during their Government Day. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor.
Councilor Demas? Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Hickerson, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, which brings us to the next section, commendations. Unfortunately, the Rock Springs High School Tiger Rhythm and Dance team could not be here this evening as it is spring break, but we will have them here at a future date along with hopefully our state champion wrestler. That brings us to presentations and proclamations, and it is spring break, so I don't know if we have anybody from the Rock Springs High School Academy of Public Services to give us an update. Oh, yes, ma'am. If you'd please approach the podium, that would be wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for being here on spring break.
That's dedication.
Good evening, guys. My name is Ivy Schachterly, and I am a senior in the Rock Springs High School Academy of Public Service. Today, I'm going to be representing the Health Occupation Career Academy, HOCA, the Academy of Public Service, APS, and the CTE Academy at Rock Springs High School. So the HOCA focuses on careers in the medical field, like doctors, nurses, vets, and more. APS focuses on careers in public service like firefighting, law enforcement, teaching, law, and other public entities. The CTE Academy focuses on vocational trades and pathways like welding, woods, metals, automotive, education, culinary, computer science, and aviation, with a concentration for all in business. These programs provide time and opportunities for field trips, guest speakers, job shadowing, and mentoring. Please let us know if you would like to join any of our programs as a guest speaker or host us for a field trip. Speaking from public experience, personal experience, I really enjoy it when we have guest speakers or when we go on field trips. It's one thing to learn about a career in a classroom, but it's a different to see it from our community leaders. So it's just a really cool thing to think about. But in the past month, oh my goodness, here's what we have been doing. Students in all three academies continue mentoring and job shadowing in our community. Altogether, we've completed 786 hours of mentoring in the last month, when we've completed 1,060 hours of job shadowing in the last month. Students completed 578 community service hours in the last month, and as we come upon the last quarter of school, we will be completing many project-based learning assignments, as well as attending field trips, including a field trip to the State Crime Lab, which I am super excited for as a forensics person, but a field trip to the Wyoming Air Guard Base, a safety fair for preschool and elementary students, a mock trial, a completed business plan, and I believe they're making advertisement and promotional posters for Sweetwater County Concert Association, which is pretty cool. Students will be attending the Future Business Leaders of America competition in March and the Skills USA competition in April. And we are looking forward to welcoming the new students into the academies for next year, the school year of 2025. But yeah, that finishes for me. We appreciate your time and letting me come up and talk to you guys.
Thank you. Council, do you have any comments or questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good day, guys.
Enjoy your spring break. Okay, next up, we have a public hearing on an application for transfer of a retail liquor license by Come and Go LLC located at 3910 Foothill Boulevard, Rock Springs, Wyoming. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that? Okay, we will close that public hearing. No comments, which brings us to petitions and public comment. If you'd like to address this, please approach the podium and identify yourself any organizations that you may represent. If you're here to talk about chickens, I would ask that if you spoke last time, unless you have new information, we don't need a repeat. If you do have new information or something that you weren't here last time would like to speak, we certainly would appreciate hearing from you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I spoke during the last council meeting in opposition of allowing backyard chickens, and I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak today again. I will just read my testimony to ensure that I don't miss any points. I have sent you emails regarding my concerns about the proposed backyard chicken ordinance, so you are already familiar with my perspective. Today, I would like to expand on my previous comments, specifically regarding the requirement in the proposed ordinance that chickens be confined to cages 24 hours a day. While I understand the intention behind this regulation, I want to highlight a few concerns that arise from it. Firstly, even when chickens are confined into cages, they remain vulnerable to avian flu. This virus can be transmitted through contaminated surfaces, including feed, water, and even owner's clothing. Backyard chickens lack the natural immunity that wild birds possess, making them particularly susceptible to outbreaks. Therefore, even if kept in cages, the risk of infection remains present. Secondly, confining chickens can result in serious health and hygiene issues. Caged birds produce waste that accumulates in one concentrated area, which creates conditions for growth of harmful bacteria and toxic ammonia fumes. Additionally, caged birds can experience stress due to their limited movement, which may lead to increased vocalizations and contribute to noise problems in our neighborhoods. Moreover, when chickens are allowed to roam outside, they encounter different risks. They can be exposed to infected wild birds, increasing the likelihood of avian flu and other diseases. Their waste can spread across yards, leading to unsanitary conditions that attract pests and produce unpleasant odors. Additionally, chickens may escape into neighboring properties, causing damages and disturbance for residents who may not welcome livestock in the area. Due to these unsanitary conditions, maintaining effective biosecurity protocols is extremely challenging for backyard chicken setups. Unlike commercial farms, which implement strict and professional biosecurity measures during avian flu outbreaks, backyard flock owners typically lack the resources and expertise to replicate these protective strategies effectively. It is crucial to recognize that neither method, keeping backyard chickens confined or allowing them to roam, will adequately eliminate this risk associated with disease transmission and unsanitary conditions. For the health and safety of our community, I urge you to not allow backyard chickens. Thank you for your time, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, we will move forward with bills and claims, starting with the bills and claims for March 18th, 2025. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for March 18th, 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstaining.
Abstaining.
Okay, the motion carries with Councilors Pedri and Thompson abstaining, bringing us to the salaries for March 7th, 2025. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve the salaries for March 7th, 2025.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstaining.
Abstaining.
Okay, the motion carries with Councilors Thompson and Pedri abstaining. Taking us to new business. First up, we have a request from the Administrative Services Department for approval of an application for transfer of a retail liquor license by Come and Go LC located at 3910 Foothill Boulevard, Rock Springs, Wyoming. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hanson?
I move to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yes. Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. I couldn't hear over my own coughing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to a request from the Parks and Recreation Department for approval of the outdoor fee schedule. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demus?
I make a motion to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson?
just so we can communicate to the public, again, trying to stay properly transparent, can you go over what you guys put into the fee schedules and how that measures up to the rest of the state, especially cities of our size?
Absolutely. Starting with the grain fees, for the daily usage, we bumped those up, starting with the carts because of our new carts that we just got, and they have some new features. So that was something we definitely wanted to do and something I promised you when when you guys approved that purchase. Similarly, Aaron Allred, our head pro, and Grant looked through all of our local area green fees, cart fees, ball rental fees, and across the board. And we're a little low, higher than some, lower than most. So our daily fees set us into a good spot where I think for the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be in that competitive space where our fees will change. So the rationale behind those fees was largely based on comparative data. Now, where this goes into the memberships, what we've seen is throughout the season, we have membership players playing their fees down to literally $1 a round. We are also supporting $0 for a lot of rounds. So that was averaging it out at our membership rate we're only getting $12 a round. And that's way below an industry average. So what the idea was behind the fee adjustments were the 2.5% increase. So some of the feedback that we did get on our online survey, our online engagement, was some people don't think we're charging enough, and some don't like the steep increase all of a sudden. But the last time that we looked at these fees and raised them is in 17. So if you take this 2.5% per year that I'm suggesting for the next 5 and applied that from 18 till now, that's you would land roughly at where we're starting with our membership right now. So basically, we're going to bring ourselves up into the schedule that I'm proposing also for the next 5 years. So with the golf rates, what this does is, I still think this is lower. We may want to revisit this in a couple years, but I also wanted to give a structured plan so that there was not a large hit in 3 years that we're then again going to have to fight or battle or deal with some citizen issues, players on either side, but that we're stepping up. Now, if we find that we're needing to have a larger cost recovery there for whatever reasons that we're looking for, whatever goals we have, I reformulate, I bring this back to you, we reconsider some different options. But we felt like this was fair. I still think in some places our membership's a little bit higher than others, but for the most part, we're under. Golf is very cost effective in this community, and there can be a lot of nuance to this fee schedule. I tried to make it so that it was as straightforward as possible, but they have everything from memberships not working on weekends to special membership rates and hours. there's a lot of different avenues we can go to if we're trying to get into all the nooks and crannies of our cost recovery out there. Tried to stay simple with this. So that's the golf rationale. The one I think that might be a little, it's a departure from what we've been doing and what I want to do, what I wanted to be able to do, and this gives the council the latitude to adjust this up or down based on what our actual costs to host these teams on the fields are. So really, the prices that I gave were based on some of those percentage charts that I gave you in the past. And you can see the subsidy on some of these where what we're proposing. So as you become, as a program benefits a larger piece of our community, they pay a higher price for our services. So that's part of the rationale that's also built into the Barry Dunn report. So what that allows you to do is, especially this year, so during this next year, we'll be tracking our costs, our lighting costs, our staffing costs, everything a lot more closely. And I probably would bring the park and athletic field schedule at least probably back to the council in January to assess our costs and then see if we're on track or if we need to adjust, or based on feedback that we received this year, if it's too substantial, because it is a departure, but it's very related to our costs. So if we feel like we only want to subsidize 1%, then that's what we go for, and that there's aftermath of that. These are kind of based on not only national recommendations across the board, where, you know, as you get up into personal benefit, you're a private traveling baseball team, you're going to need to help us out more with what we're paying. And if you are a largely community benefited program, your baseballs and softballs, we're gonna help more. So it can really slide across the bar. But what this will do in the future is it'll provide the rationale behind why we're saying. So if we know that every single game is gonna cost us, and I did this by per prep, not per game, because that's where most of our costs are incurred. But if every game is $100 and they only have to pay $1, then that's all we're getting. So if that's the decision of the council, at that point, we can move forward with that. But that also gives you the latitude to do that, which is why I kind of shared those schedules. But so that we could pick a cost on this is why I recommended what we had there. And like I said, it's aligned with a lot of the national figures and norms that we're seeing across ball fields. And I looked throughout our region. I've looked at nationally. I've looked at more ball field schedules or cost schedules than I care to mention. But this is what I felt would be fair. There could be some nooks and crannies, but in our other fee schedule, there was two where we have to apply some common sense to this group or that group and fit them into the right spacing. So other than that, Councilor Hickerson, was there anything specifically you wanted to?
No, I wanted the people to be able to hear, because I think you did, especially on the season passes, bring them up to what our public courses around the state are. Like Cheyenne, and their public course is $660 a year per person. If they're over 18, ours is $650. Right. Cheyenne or Casper is $625, ours is $650. Gillette is $700. You go to smaller places like Lander, it's $1,500 a year for their public course.
Right.
So I understand it's a big step for everybody. Understand we can't give everything away, I guess.
Yeah, my job would be a lot easier if we just decided to give everything away. Everyone would be happy, and we'd have plenty of money to support all these things. But given the state of where we're at and where we are headed, I think this was the best, hitting the midline. And like I said, these can be up for review as often as we need. But hopefully I will apply cost measurements, cost data on what we're putting into these, so that you guys can make a more informed decision if that's where we need to go. as these fees land and maybe your email box fills up, you know, there is rationale, and there's, like I said, there's a basis for comparison as far as golf fees go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
One more thing, I do believe there's a correction. We did change the membership fees in 2021 when I was the liaison to Parks and Rec, but it was only like $50 per year.
Council Hickerson, I thought, and I may be wrong, I wasn't sitting in this chair then, I thought that was a fee-centric, or were the membership fees moved up then?
Yep. That's, I think, all we moved up. I don't think we changed the price of a round of golf that time.
As a person who's got a season pass pretty much every year since I started working for the city, I don't remember that, but I'm going to say
Yours would have gone
you
up
might
like
be correct.
$25.
But yeah, I still think that from the standpoint of equity and comparison across the state, I think we still land right there in the middle.
I would agree with you 100%.
JJ, you mentioned this to me already, but what will this do to the bottom line? How much extra revenue will this bring us?
Yes, Mayor, Council Malonis, what our expectation for this is, with consistent utilization, the same as this last year, we expect it was around 170, but we made there's a couple differentiations in there with how we did our senior fees, and then also how we were going to allow memberships to be applied to external tournaments that we feel are going to push that to 180 plus is the guess. But it's hard to figure all that in because those tournaments especially are super variable. And also, we don't know, I mean, anytime there's a cost increase, sometimes you are going to see a utilization drop. We could see more, single rounds. It's hard to say, but based on those past numbers, it should be 170, 180.
Thank you.
Okay. Other than the gremlin and the machine, anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to a request from the Boys and Girls Club of Sweetwater County for a road closure for the annual Rods and Rails Car Show on June 14th, 2025, to include North Front Street from the Park Hotel to K Street, including the North Front parking lot, and allow open containers for alcoholic beverages through the closure area and down J Street from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas.
I make a motion to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Petrie. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion carries with Councilor Zadi abstaining. Which brings us to a request from Susan McCurtain. She's doing business as Black Gold Studios for 3 malt beverage permits for the Sweetwater County Ink Fest on April 4th through the 6th, 2025, from 8 a.m. until 1 a.m. at the Sweetwater Events Complex. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson.
I move to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously, bringing us to a request from Lynn Padge Inc., doing business as Bomber Sports Bar, for 3 liquor catering permits for the Jenkins Music Pool Tournament on April 9th through the 13th, 2025, from 8 a.m. until midnight at the Sweetwater Events Complex. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Hickerson.
I move to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to a request from the Sweetwater Events Complex for 6 malt beverage permits for the Tiffin Motor Coach Mega Rally on April 16th to the 21st, 2025, from noon until 9 p.m. at the Sweetwater Events Complex. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Pedri. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstain.
Motion carries with Counselor Zadi abstaining, bringing us to our final item of new business, a request from the Park LLC for 2 liquor catering permits for the Red Desert Roundup Rodeo on July 25th and 26th of 2025 from 4 p.m. until midnight at the Sweetwater Events Complex grandstands. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Counselor Thompson?
I move to approve this request.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Hanson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to our first resolution of this evening, 2025-29.
A resolution accepting and approving a collection agreement between Express Recovery Services, Inc. and the City of Rock Springs Housing Authority, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, acting in his capacity as chairman of the Rock Springs Housing Board, to execute a collection agreement with Express Recovery Services, Inc.
Thank you, Council. Do we have a motion?
Your Honor, I
Counsel.
move to approve Resolution 2529.
Thank you, Councilor Zadi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Bingham. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Abstaining.
Motion, motion carries with Councilors Pedri and Thompson abstaining. That takes us to Resolution 2025-30.
A resolution accepting and approving a client motor vehicle agreement between Elwood Staffing Services, Inc. and the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said agreement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-30.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hickerson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to Resolution 2025-31.
A resolution accepting and approving a revised job description for the positions of court clerk at pay grade 105 and senior court clerk at pay grade 107 for the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Henson?
I move to approve Resolution 2025-31.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Bingham. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor?
Councilor?
Maybe, I don't understand why we did this. Can somebody explain why we had to revise the job description? And also, is that a pay upgrade for those positions also?
Your Honor, Councilor Malonis, also, I had some discussions with the judge on this one. This would be his staff. A lot of the times we have ladder positions. These were two separate job descriptions before, and we just combined them into one job description and made it more of a ladder position. So if somebody comes in with less experience, you can hire them at the lower position. But if they can promote into the other position, and they're the same grades they were before we merged the two job descriptions into one.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to our final resolution, 2025-32.
A resolution authorizing and directing Max Mickelson as mayor of the City of Rock Springs and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to accept and approve a budget revision to the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Council, do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Councilor Demas?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-32.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Pedri. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to our second reading of ordinance 2025-05. We will not take action after this.
An ordinance amending Article 3.5 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs entitled Humane Control and Regulation of Animals.
Okay, and that takes us.
Honor, I do have a question.
Yes, sir. We can have a conversation if you guys want.
Just curious, I know you appointed a committee to review the ordinance and that. Has anything come of that at this point? Or any?
The committee did have one meeting and had a lot of feedback from animal control. And overall, they were not largely in favor of amending the ordinance. We're going to have a second committee meeting later this month, and then we will have our third reading at the April 1st council meeting. So the concerns that animal control had were around their ability to house and take care of chickens, given their already sort of strained resources. But yeah, that's my understanding. I was not participating in that meeting. I'm trying to be neutral on chickens. But despite the fact that when it comes to a vote, I'm fairly pro chicken. So I wanted the council and staff to have the opportunity to visit without my influence. But then I will attend the second meeting, and then we'll go from there.
And then will we have a meeting from the committee prior, an update from the committee prior to the council meeting or during council meeting?
During
What's the
council
plan
meeting,
there? Okay.
the committee members can speak. It's not the sort of committee where they'll produce a consensus. It's more of attempting to have a deeper conversation and work with staff to try to make sure that everybody is really well informed. Fundamentally, the chicken question, as it rears its head again, will come down to each of us voting to represent our individual constituencies as we best understand.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to council up. Sorry, council updates.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I'll go again, I guess. I just update on a couple things. We did have a first meeting this last week on ordinance review. The mayor had put together a committee that we will go over a daunting task of looking at every single ordinance and seeing what could possibly be updated, revised, or changed. There's a lot of ordinances there that haven't been, I don't think they've been touched since they've been implemented. There's some language that's outdated and some things that just probably need to be updated. I think we have the number was around 600 and some ordinances total. So we're going to start on that and hopefully have a few in the months to every meeting in the months to come that we're going to be recommending changes to. The other committee meeting, we did a building committee meeting just discussing facilities and facility usage and future plans. We'll start to see some results and reports from those meetings coming forward here in the next month.
Very good. I will, just so that everyone's aware, the ordinance review committee, the legal department provided me with a listing of every ordinance because we're starting with building, planning, and zoning that touches on those. In our process, we're going to look through them as a committee, and then we're going to visit with staff, and then we'll visit with legal. And if through that process we've identified recommended changes, then those will come forward to the council as a whole through our normal ordinance process so that the public and the council can have feedback. So it is a slow process, and certainly our intent is not to just kind of toss the baby and the bathwater out together. But we just thought it would be good to take a comprehensive look at all of our ordinances. Many of our planning, zoning, and building ordinances are dictated by state statute. And so if you're hoping for changes to those, we're the wrong electeds to look to. You'll want to talk to your representatives and senators because they're the ones who have the authority to change that, since all of our authority flows from them. Does anybody else? Oh, the one thing I did want to mention, I'm sure everyone saw that last Friday we lost Al Simpson, and he was such a tremendous servant for the state and did such a beautiful job of bringing people together and finding that common ground to work on. And that is certainly something that I think is needed more than ever these days. So that was a real loss for our state. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to